Alright, this is my final video for my Developing World class, and today we will be talking about just everything about my country and having a little discussion based on the stuff that I learned. And this is my best friend Naomi, and she's going to be helping with this interview stuff. So our first portion of this video will be discussing my country, which is Turkey. And do you have any questions for me?
I do. My first question is, what is the economy like in Turkey?
The economy in Turkey is actually doing very well. Turkey is actually becoming much more modernized, and it doesn't really have many problems in terms of third world purposes. And it is just slowly advancing in ways just like the United States is, just at a little slower rate.
Okay. My second question, how does Turkey compare to other third world countries?
Turkey is not really a third world country, which is kind of cool. Like, I don't know, most people in the class got third world countries. Well, I know of a lot of people that did, and so they have a lot of problems, but Turkey really doesn't have very many problems. Like, it does have a few, but it's made a lot more progress than other countries have. So, my last question.
My last one, would you personally ever live in Turkey?
I think I would, just because it'd be somewhere new. And it's actually, like, from the pictures that I found, there's, like, beaches and stuff, and they do, like, hot air balloon races and everything. And from an outside standpoint, it looks like a really nice place to live. So the next section that we can talk about will be the Millennium Development Goals. And the Millennium Development Goals were developed by the United Nations, and they were just to address a lot of issues that are surrounding particularly third world countries and up-and-coming countries, which is why Turkey is involved in that. And they are just designed to address issues and to give countries a goal to work towards in the new millennium, to higher the standard of living in those countries. And the Millennium Development Goals include infant mortality and gender equality, and they also include to achieve universal primary education and to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. And they also are promote gender equality and empower women, reduce child mortality, improve maternal health, combat HIV diseases and other HIV, malaria, and other diseases, ensure environmental sustainability, and to develop a global partnership for development. Starting with the first one, let's go over it. To eradicate poverty and hunger. Like my website said, like, the poverty rate in Turkey is actually very, very, very low. It's stands below 0.01%. And the parts that, like, I have pictures of poverty on my website, and the pictures that those represent is this very small portion of Turkey. And that by now, in the next couple years, that will be entirely eradicated, and there'll be like no poverty and hunger in Turkey. And then we'll go to achieve primary education. The literacy rate in Turkey currently stands at 97.4%, and it has risen to the enrollment rate of about 98%, which is great. I mean, that's pretty close to the United States' standards, well, if not the same. I'm not quite sure of the United States ratio, but I mean, for a developing country, what more can you say if you get the literacy rate up to 98%? And so they've surpassed their millennium goal, actually. And yeah, so they just want to get education available for all kids. And that is particularly like an issue in a lot of other countries, but in Turkey it's not really much of an issue anymore. Any questions so far? I'm doing good.
No, good.
Okay. And then this was a big one that we focused a lot in our class, was to promote gender equality and empower women. Like, I don't know, we watched a lot of videos that had to do with how women are discriminated in other countries and how girls and women are just kind of thought as lesser than men. And it was actually kind of disturbing. It was actually very disturbing. But it made me feel better because Turkey isn't having as much trouble, but it still is having trouble, but not nearly as much as African countries or places like that, or other third world countries. And it said that, like, compared to bigger European countries, Turkey does have still more of a problem, and its illiteracy rate among women is 7.8%, and there are only 29.3% of women participate in the labor force. So even though it is a pretty advanced country, women aren't as involved as they should be yet, you know. But that goes for a lot of developing countries. Like, they're kind of just stuck there. America has made huge strides in comparison to others. So
Yeah, it seems like that's a really big issue.
yeah,
It's one that I hear about a lot.
yeah, and like, I don't know, it's awful. Like, well, being a girl, you know, you take it to heart a little bit more than a lot of other things.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's a lot more relatable than the other ones. I mean, they're all like, you know, you hear about all of them, but yeah, like you said, it's definitely, you know, you can take it to heart. And yeah, like, as a woman, like, I don't know, our equality and you know, the things that we can do in our country, like, that means a lot to me personally, and like to every woman that, yeah, like, I think that, I don't know, it's definitely one to like think about.
In one video we watched called Half the Sky, like, a lot of, or it was Half the Sky and other videos, a lot of them kind of illustrated that girls didn't really know that they could go farther. Like, it was just kind of expected of them just to kind of stay with tradition, you know? And so a lot of girls didn't know that they had possibilities, like, didn't know they could stand up for themselves, and they, I don't know, they just kind of go with the flow. But there are some girls, like the women that we talked about in class, that have stepped outside of the norm and have changed their lives and have changed the lives of many girls around them too. And it's a steady process. Like, that's kind of sad, but it's a work in progress still.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, so the next one is to reduce child mortality. And the child mortality in Turkey is, again, not nearly as bad as a lot of other countries. It's still a problem, but it will kind of be a problem for a little while. And the current infant mortality rate in Turkey is 23 deaths per 1,000 births. And this is, like, I don't know, they're taking some strides into helping prevent child mortality. And one of, like, the biggest things that kids die from 0 to 5 is malaria in Turkey, and like chicken pox. But Turkey is currently initiating immunizations of kids, and they have about 97 or 98% of kids are immunized now. So that is greatly reducing the amount of deaths in Turkey from infants. Next portion, the next Millennium Development Goal, is to improve maternal health. And in Turkey, the current number of maternal deaths is 20 per 100,000 live births, actually. And I mean, that seems kind of small, but still, if 20 women die from childbirth, you know, and that's sad. And the country is currently providing, what's the word I'm looking for? Currently providing information about maternal health and more pamphlets and information about certain prenatal vitamins that need to be taken, and also getting more women closer to adequate hospitals and like making sure they have a safe pregnancy, and also like not getting pregnant on accident, you know, like protection and stuff. So it was crazy to think about, like, again, going to other countries, it was crazy to think about that a lot of countries don't know about condoms and birth control. Like,
Really?
yeah, especially in, like, we heard about Ghana, I think it was, or we heard about a few different countries in the Half the Sky movie, that these girls that had been raped and turned into prostitutes were now going around and like asking guys if they, like, holding these little classes and asking guys if they knew what a condom was to prevent like accidental births. And because a lot of girls in that situation, it's not very good health standards, you know. So I don't know, like, if you get pregnant by accident, you're not going to be as healthy as you would if you're trying to get pregnant on purpose.
Yeah, it's true. Definitely.
Yeah. So it kind of rolls into the next section, which is to combat HIV and other diseases. And in Turkey, the number of reported cases in 2010 was 557, but there wasn't any reported deaths, I don't think, yet. So, and the number of malaria cases was 87. And it's more common in children, but because of the increase in immunizations, the rate of malarial disease is going dramatically down.
Mm-hmm.
And then with HIV and AIDS, again, just awareness kind of is the main combat against HIV. And again, a lot of other countries have much greater rates of HIV and AIDS than Turkey does. That still doesn't mean it isn't a problem, but
yeah, it makes sense that it's such a big problem if not very many people know about, how to be safe, or like, it seems to be like a big issue in a lot of developing countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of like the bigger ones.
Yeah, definitely. Because like there's not really a cure for it, and it's sexually transmitted, and there are so many like sex trafficking, prostitutes, brothels, rapes, you name it, that happen, and people don't know how to be smart in some places,
Yeah.
So, anyway, that is slowly but surely getting better, but I think right now the main combat that Turkey has against HIV and diseases is just, knowledge. Anyway. And then ensuring environmental sustainability. This kind of means reducing CO2 emissions, making more green energy, and just clean drinking water. And actually, in Turkey, the 97.8% of the population has access to clean drinking water right now, and which is great. That's one of like the main concerns of everywhere is water.
Yeah, that's very high.
And Turkey has also created a portion of terrestrial and marine protected lands, so they're protecting wildlife and everything to help the environment, and they're also trying to reduce the CO2 emissions, although the CO2 emissions currently stand at about 300,000 tons of CO2 emissions. But that also comes with being a more progressive country. So they're just looking for another green energy source. And I mean, everybody is right now too, Anyway, so the last part that we have is developing a global partnership for developing a global partnership for development, saying the same word about twice, but it's establishing a global partnership. And currently Turkey is actually very good at developing a global partnership. It has donated billions of dollars to helping other developing countries, and they have created organizations specifically for helping other countries and for cooperating with the United Nations and to get in contact with other countries. And yeah, so they're on their way. They're greatly on their way, and there is much legislature still going around to further help developing countries from Turkey. So that's a really good thing. And then just a second, I'm looking at the next thing. Okay, the last part is kind of analyzing the goals for my country. And on almost every account, Turkey is either almost at or has surpassed its Millennium Development Goal, which is very, 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 very good, and what's admirable for a country like that. And they have come very far in a very short amount of years. So I would say that the greatest thing that needs to develop on is probably just HIV and AIDS. That has the most reported deaths, I think. Well, that and like maternal health.
Yeah.
I'd say. I think once I think maternal health and kind of gender equality go hand in hand. Like once you increase the health of the women, you'll also increase the equality of them.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and then HIV and AIDS will kind of it's a work in progress still, and I think that's one of the main things that Turkey and a lot of developing countries really need to focus on, because that will help save a lot of people. And yeah, and I think that in the future, Turkey will continue to be a very developed country and will continue to get much more advanced in the years to come, and will very, very, very soon surpass its Millennium Development Goals. Well, thank you for talking with me and everything.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been a good class.
Bye.